Welcome back to Star Series 6, guys. We've swapped out the American and brought in the British, and I'm going to be joined by Sponge and Pimp once again for this segment. How's it going, guys? How you found your opening games?
Yeah, they're pretty good. I
Pretty
think,
fun.
yeah, we had a couple of upsets in there, but all in all, this is the one that I'm going to say it again. Jacob said it. I'm excited for this one.
We
A
heard
lot of excitement.
Well, I think the thing that people may not understand here is I do watch a lot of Counter-Strike,
Yeah.
but I'm mainly watching the events with the top teams, and that's no
Of course.
offense to the ENCEs or the Imperials of the world that we're about to watch. I consider them up-and-coming teams. They're just not at the staple tournaments that I'm at all the time.
Yeah.
That's why this is exciting to me, because what I have seen of ENCE, ESO1 Cologne, they did fantastically well. I think at the minor they got robbed there by actually fault of their own. You know, that was a big learning experience for them. I think Imperial, these guys here definitely have a lot of really big fraggers in this team, and I'm excited to see how they play because I love the pure CSGO players that we're seeing come through now, these new players and new faces. So this one excites me just to see what both teams are going to bring to the table because they faced only a month ago at a DreamHack Open. So good to get that clash again.
Now, let's start with ENCE, right? This finish lineup that's coming up. We finally get a full finish lineup to try and fly the flag a little
With
bit.
Aloe
right?
as well.
With Aloe in there as well. So we've got a good mix of the experienced players with the younger players coming in. They've had some good results, but we're not seeing it maybe as consistently here. But this is a big chance for them.
I mean, consistency is the key for this lineup, and I think consistency for Alu as well is going to be the key word for him because he's been around forever and he's been on and off teams. You know, he was in NIP. He was not made the goat of the team, but he was the one being booted from the team when needed to make a change, and it's been like that for quite some time for him. So now he's finally back. He's with his brothers from Finland, and they're finally doing well, right? It's a team, as you said, with a lot of potential. They have the old experience in form of Alu. They have the young stars. Alexip, in particular, is a very good player, and it's also players from Finland who has been around forever. It's not like these new stars who have to learn it from the bottom. There's still some experience behind them and still some idea of how to play Counter-Strike behind it. So I think this lineup in particular is super, super interesting.
I think it's really romantic in the sense that Alu went out. He had a lot of experience. He played within NIP. He played within FaZe. He got to play towards the upper echelon of Counter-Strike and prove that he was a world-class player. Then when he was thrown aside from the whole FaZe project and that didn't really work out, I think it's great that he's taken the experience, he's taken what he's learned, he's obviously teamed up with Lurpus and Natu, gone back to, a known, I guess, Finnish brand, and now he's building a team. They're currently ranked number 20 in the world, and considering how sporadic and up and down CS is, all it's going to take is for them to have one good run, and they can immediately find themselves within the top 15, maybe within the top 12, maybe even on the cusp right now. You look at that top 10, I think it's a weak top 10, to be completely honest with you right now.
Definitely
I think the top 10 in the world is quite weak considering the disparity from number 1 all the way down to number 10.
Yeah.
And I think ENCE definitely have a lot of wiggle room there. And that's something that I'm excited to see if they can continue that because this type of Counter-Strike they're playing, Jacob, is the type that I know that you and I like. It's very structured. They still have the flary moments in between, but they're bringing innovation, they're bringing good communication, they're staying calm, and they're approaching the game in more of a recipe, right? They're treating it like a recipe. They're cooking with Counter-Strike, if you were. And I think, looking at these guys, you can just see on their faces, look how young they are.
Yeah.
The age of the majority of these players here is, I'm pretty sure it's, around that 20-year-old mark or younger. And these guys have a lot of growth, a lot of time to get it to learn and become experienced players. And they're already showing maturity beyond their years.
And they were in a grand final at DreamHack Montreal, right? They've had that kind of stage experience. An event like this where we've got a real mixed bag of times of the teams that are here, this is a great opportunity for them to do really well, right? You're already 1-0 up. We've got to that stage. You potentially have a 2-0 lead here.
This is the opportunity for them to as chat alert, to break through, make that top 15, make that top 10 placement even. At a tournament like this, it would be a big disappointment for me if they don't make it out of the playoff, no matter what. It's a team that has the potential. We saw that at Montreal. We saw that at the grand final at DreamHack. They were playing well. They also did beat Imperial in the semi-final of that tournament, so they have some chemistry in between these two teams. And when you look at the win rates, I know a lot of it comes from online matches and a lot of it comes from less good opponents, but it's still pretty impressive they're able to play at least 4 or 5 maps to a certain level where they can win more than 50% of the time.
Just to note as well, with Jacob mentioning, a lot of those results are online. That is the case, but this is why it's even more important when they do get to come to a LAN event, especially one of this caliber, one of this stature, that they have to give 150%. That goes for all of these teams at this tournament, I think, because none of them, besides the Mouse Sports and maybe the NRGs of the world, are going, and I think North is probably on the cusp of this, is going to guarantee themselves invitations to a lot of these tournaments, whereas these guys right here have to prove that they're worthy worthy of an invite or worthy of even, you know, being given a closed qualifier spot. So there's more into this than just, hey, this is a LAN event for them. This is a chance, like a proving ground going forward, and you want to make sure you do well at these tournaments because you can guarantee yourself more LAN events. More LAN events means more experience. More experience means the team's only going to get better. And this is a team right here with not that much experience as a unit offline. I think the last 3 months is probably when they've started really getting their act together and being able to play more offline events.
Yeah, that's right. Looking at the Imperial roster, right, they've got this kind of opportunity of having this very skilled roster. They've been trying to find their leadership. We've seen the struggles that went back and forth with that. That, to me, was kind of a wild situation they put themselves through anyway, because that's when they were mainly on the rise, and then they kind of hindered themselves.
Definitely. We saw them first time at Copenhagen Games really break through. They were able to win that entire event. Back then, they had a Cillian on the team, being the in-game leader. He's now in Heroic, and he's a very structured in-game leader. Now, looking at these percentages quick, you can see how many maps they're playing and how many they're actually winning. Cash, 89%, Train, 73%, Mirage, 80%. That's some insanely high win rate numbers, right? And that comes from the online play that they have, because they're dominating online. They're dominating these tier 2, tier 3 teams online. Question is, can they do that when they go up to the next level or the next stage here at the SLTV lane? That's what they have to figure out and what they have to show us as well.
Now, looking at this Imperial roster, who are the people we're going to really look to? We speak a lot about Esperanto, right, over and over again. But what other depth is there to this team?
So, like I've already touched on, I haven't actually had the pleasure of watching too much of these guys play, especially as a unit, right? You know, you tune into the streams. I know of Nexa with his time in Renegades getting pushed into that in-game leadership role. Now he's actually gets a chance to carry that through. I need to learn about them with everybody else, and that's not a cop-out by any means. It's just I want to learn and see what these guys have to deliver. The video on the screen right here, we did see those percentages come up, and both teams really play a lot of Mirage. But last time these two teams went head-to-head on LAN on Mirage, it was a 16-2 victory in favor of Imperial. So that's a respect band coming out right there from ENCE, knowing that, hey, these guys can play that open, loose style on that map, and that's not something which is necessarily, I'm not going to say it's not one of their strengths, but it's probably more of a strength for Imperial than it is for ENCE, who I already touted as being relatively structured. I think Train is probably where we'll end up.
Yeah, because obviously Cash is the obvious ban for ENCE. Now, the good thing about Imperial, they'll happily play all maps, but they know they haven't won a single game on Dust 2, so that made sense. So it looks like we could be going, that's exactly the way we're going.
Yeah, I think Train is probably look, I like the things I've seen from ENCE. You know, they do the standard pacing. They will do an inside execute on probably 75% of their first gun rounds on the T side, right?
Yeah.
They know how to move the AWP around. And you can see here in the last 5 games that they've played on this map, sure, it's not not against, I would say, tier 1 opposition for all of them, but they've been consistently getting wins on this map, and that's always a confidence thing, knowing that you've beaten Imperial on this map previously. However, we just saw Hellraisers, who had recently beaten Tylo on Overpass, lose to them. So maybe take what I just said with a grain of salt.
And I think it's the first time today we see that we actually have 2 teams who find middle ground in this best of 1 videos. Like normally when you have best of 1 videos, you always find middle ground, but for some reason the team has been acting a little bit odd throughout this day so far. But finally we have a map where both teams are super confident, both teams know how to play it, and last time they did play against each other, it was a 19-17 overtime game. So both teams probably had the feeling that we could have won this had it gone just a little bit differently, right? So in this scenario, I think it's a perfect map to actually battle out between 2 teams that are currently on the rise, 2 teams that have 2 different aspects to them. They have the experience towards ENCE, you know, with Elo being a veteran of the game, compared to Imperial, who's just a bunch of young guys who are really skilled at this game.
I think just to note as well, it's almost to the day a month ago that these two teams went head-to-head on LAN. So I think the growth period for Imperial, with getting Hadji feeling more comfortable in the roster, is probably something which has changed over those 30 days.
And you can see our sponsors in LootBet here. You can use the promo code SLTV if you want to go and get ahead and maybe take some of our knowledge from the desk and choose the team you think which way it's going to go. But this, at least to me, seems like quite a potential 50-50, despite that having that they played against each other, because you know Imperial would have done their homework, would have done their research on this. I saw the guys last night in the hotel. There was Neil M there, their coach. It was all sat down there getting prepared, getting ready for it, going through some last-minute things. Maybe they already had an idea that it would go down to Train, because like you said, it is that middle ground.
Yeah. You often have an idea when you go into a matchup. Like you often pick it down to 2 or 3 maps. You know it's going to be one of these 2 or one of these 3 maps, and then you prepare. You know, you go to your hotel room or you get your manager to do the stuff, and then you tell your players in the morning, like, this is what you can prepare for. And if we play this map, we have an idea of they're doing this and this and this. If we play the second map that it may be, then we have an idea of this and this and this. You can't hardcore prepare in a best of 1 video, because there could be an upset upset. There could be a pocket pick or something like that. So you don't
Yeah.
want to play all your money on one horse in that sense. But both teams are prepared coming into this. There's no doubt. And the fact that they have played each other, the fact that they are in the same region, they both play in this tier 2, tier 3 European region. A lot of online qualifiers. They're playing a lot against the same teams and against each other. So they know each other well, also from FPL and all that kind of stuff. It's two teams that, again, there are two different aspects to the team as I'm trying to outline here. There is some experience on the Finnish side, but there's definitely some young power on the Imperial side.
Just taking a quick look at some stat lines for both these teams, the history of these rosters on train. There's obviously a lot less maps played for the Imperial guys than it is for ENCE. But for the pistol round win percentage, okay, you've got ENCE at 57.9%, and then you look at Imperial. Sorry, it's the other way around. ENCE is at 60% pistol win percentage, and it's 57.9% for Imperial, right? That's very close. You look at the round win after first kill, 83.8% for Imperial, 82.6% for ENCE. That's super close. And then even the rounds conversion after first death, so that's 4v5 disadvantage situations, 34% for Imperial and 30.9% for ENCE. You look at those stats, they're almost mirror image.
They're always mirror image, but those are quite high, like especially the last one you mentioned.
Yeah.
When you go down 4 versus 5, you're still able to win 34% of the game, or 34% of the rounds, especially for Imperial, who is a young team that you may think, they could be rattled out, and they may not have the second plan if they die the first guy in the game, which obviously is not according to plan. So that's kind of impressive that both teams are able to keep their composure. And on a map like Train, it is often easier to win a 4 versus 5 because the map is very closed down. If you have a bomb site, if you have control over the inner bomb site, it's tough to retake for the TTs. But it's still quite high percentages for both teams, and especially considering that both these teams, again, are, not the top teams of the world, but they're definitely knocking the door into the top 10, top 15.
Now, I will take this moment to say as well, for the guys still looking at the chat, make sure you go and vote for your team, which you think. You can just say the name of the team and put your vote across. And more for us, how do we think this is going to go? Because this is so 50-50 from just looking at it statistically, the fact they played this map before against each other. Could this just be a factor of how it comes on the day, how they're feeling it?
Both teams, knowing that they've gone head-to-head and gone to overtime on this map, it means that they can both perform to a proficient level on LAN, right? That should be out the window.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's an any given Sunday type of vibe. I think that ENCE are definitely going to have more structure and at least more strategy, where it is potentially more individual dependent for Imperial. If you have a high 4v5 percentage win rate, that means stars are normally stepping up in mid rounds and either winning clutches off of intuition or they're able to just multi-frag like nobody else. And the way that Jacob has kind of solved these guys to me is there is a lot of individual potential, right? That they are able to take over games with the players like Esperanto, etc., just getting it done. So I think that it's more of an any given Sunday win condition for that of Imperial, whereas ENCE are going to be going through the paces, doing their normal game plan, and everybody just needs to contribute in their role. So I'm going to lean towards the ENCE guys.
Now, we did actually see as well, ENCE obviously on their first game, 16-6 against Tyloo on Inferno. Very solid scoreline. And Tyloo, who are looking pretty good, end up beating Hellraisers, but actually Imperial beat Hellraisers to get here. So this is just like a whole toss-up in the first place anyway.
You could say so. I mean, it's an active choice for Imperial to go this route with having Nexa as the in-game leader as well. It's a guy you don't know too much about. He was the in-game leader in Renegades for sure, but that wasn't a successful story.
Yeah.
English, again, he's coming from the outside and have to all of a sudden control this Australian team who knows each other well. That's a tough task. Now he's finally in a position where he can control his team and they actually respect him. What is so impressive about Nexa and his performance is that he's one of the best fracking in-game leaders that is currently playing the game. He's super good at fracking. He's sort of like an angel type of in-game leader in that sense, where he's always on the move, always trying to enter frag and making a lot of damage for his team, making that easier for stars like Esperanto, Nuki, and all that kind of stuff to go in and chime in with the frags. So in that sense, he's super valuable for this team. And I think it's fun for me to see Imperial because they chose a route, right? They had Asilian as the structured in-game leader that did work out, and it was a decent amount of success, but they choose to go with Nexa instead. They choose to go away from this structured Counter-Strike. Maybe a little bit of young stupidity in that sense, you could say. They much rather want to play their own game. They much want to play into their own strengths and not try to force some sort of like brand of Counter-Strike that is structured, that is clever, that they may not be ready for yet. And that's a strong characteristic in my books anyway, because they know themselves that we're good at playing Counter-Strike to the puggish way, So you're just going to do that instead of trying to force something upon ourselves that we're not necessarily good at.
I think as well, the utility usage, I was seeing a graphic yesterday, I think it was from Peter from HTV.org again, and I think that he was looking at it was something to do with their 4v5s, right, just saying it was quite good. But the thing that stood out most on that graphic to me was how poor their utility usage was. And that normally comes when you have more of a free-flowing team, right, because you are doing things more off the fly, you're expending your utility maybe with less of a goal, a big picture goal, but maybe like more in the moment. So it may not always make sense. Whereas like ENCE, I think that because they have more structure, their utility all has a purpose. You know, we Molotov here, and this gives us this map control, right? We want to hold on to this stuff for a retake. So maybe look for those kind of look at the utility use for Imperial here and see how they're kind of applying it, and if it seems as effective of that of old boys of ENCE.
Okay, well, I'm going to get your predictions in just a sec, but don't forget, guys, you can also head over to Hellcase. If you want to sell your skins, you can get Bitcoin, you can get Ethereum. If you want to sell any of the skins that you may just be hanging on to there, it could be something you want to get involved in. There you go, you can see it above me as well. Or below me, sorry, should I say. But as we get into predictions, we want to rattle into this game. Where are we going, guys?
I think, yeah, I think I'm going to join you on that one. I think ENCE is the favorites. I do not agree with the odds being so one-sided towards ENCE. I think it's a much closer game than initially we think so. But Imperial is one of those teams that on any given Sunday, they can turn up and just destroy any given team on a Sunday because they're so good individual. I'm selling it to you quite hard here.
It's a Monday, so maybe.
It's a Monday, any given Monday. I don't know.
Damn it.
But they're really, really good at the game. Like, they have this individual power. On the other side, though, Alu, with the experience, he's also a strong individual. We are playing Train. It is a map for the AVPs as well, so he needs to step up and be the leadership figure for this team.
All right, well, I will be going with ENCE as well. I believe that's the way it's going to go, so it's a whole desk on ENCE. But now it's time to get into the game, and we're going to start with just a man called Harry, and a man who's got a pretty big vendetta.
Well, everyone here kind of going to be leading the way that it's easy for ENCE. I think this is going to be the Imperial March. I think we see these guys come out swinging. I've been speaking a little bit to Neil as well, the coach. He thinks everyone needs to have a bit more faith in these guys. I tell you what, Halvor, I'm going to agree with him there. You know, the last time we saw these two teams play on this map, I actually got to cast it back in Montreal. I got to see that go down, and it was a fantastic head-to-head. Let me say, I mean, so Train ended up 19-17, but at this point in time, you know, Imperial, they've been playing all day. They looked pretty exhausted, you know. They looked a little bit tired. Maybe they kind of got in their own heads. I know the guys really didn't feel good about that loss, and they believed it was a game that they should have won. I think they're going to be out for revenge here on Train. These guys, very, very proficient Train team. And ENCE, I mean, as of late, like, you know, they've had some good performances here and there. There's no doubt about it. They're a team that's been on the rise. It's just, I think, you know, on a map like Train, so you're going to have such a reliance on a man like Arlu to show on up. And I mean, you know, I don't know. I just have a good feeling about Imperial, but as you can see, no one else does. My goodness, 25% to 75.
I mean, you're asking Twitch chat to either type, you know, vote Imperial or easy for ENCE. I mean,
yeah, that's
always
true.
Gonna win. I think ENCE would be favored even versus Na'Vi at this point.
Yeah.
Just for the memes, but yeah.
What were you feeling about this one, Halvor?
I'm actually leaning the same way as the desk. I'm thinking ENCE. What we saw from them yesterday versus Tyloo, obviously that was a not 100% Tyloo that they faced up against, but still, just seeing the fact that Sergey was seemingly in form, Alu's doing Alu things in that sense. You know, there's always being that consistent factor on the side, but also that X7, who's probably the one player on this ENCE side that kind of falls behind every now and again. He was also fragging, you know, putting up big numbers. And a little bit of a worry that Esperanto didn't have the greatest of games yesterday. He has, you know, I mean, you can't put it under stone that he's been the hard carry for this Imperial team for the better part of their time together.
One thing I will say is, you know, if I think back to the few events I have seen these guys, it does always feel like Esperanto is one of these guys who's a very, very slow starter. And, you know, I think, you know, by day 2, usually we start to see him start to pick things up. Let's see that history repeats itself there as Ariel opens things up in this round. He's going to go ahead and delete Nexa. Now, the bomb has made it in towards B. There's a lengthy flank coming in from Arlu. You can see he's already picked up Haji on this wrap round behind. So we're into a 3-on-5 with the bomb down for Imperial, and Esperanto trying to close that gap. Not going to do too well, as it is just Nuki left alive at a 1v3.
Yeah, no Molotov either. So not going to be able to do the classic of Molotoving off the doors there. Give him some ground and actually delay a bomb defuse, but yeah, can't even connect the shots onto X7 either. Might even go down after the bomb is defused, but stays alive, so I guess some money saved in that sense. But round for ENCE. They also get to start on the CT side. We saw that yesterday. It was pretty heavily CT favored from the teams that got to duke it out on Train. And I guess that is kind of what you can come to expect, you know, unless you have certain specific Train specialists going up against each other. But I'm excited to see more out of the ENCE. Obviously, they had the great run at Cologne, and then they had a bit of a dip. As you mentioned, they did come second at Montreal, which is a great result for them as well. Obviously, I still think they did have the potential to win that. Obviously lost to Kingwin in the finals. But they have an exciting lineup of young Finnish talent. I mean, we haven't mentioned Ariel yet, but he's definitely one to look out for as well. Extremely solid player, and one of the few players who actually still uses the silenced Colt. And I'm not sure why people still do this. Could be preference, obviously, but you know, from any like statistical value, the unsilenced M4 is superior in every single way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of some other players who I know use it. I know that
Forest.
like Angel does, Forest does. I think that
It's not a lot.
Taz might still use it, but I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a dying trend with that weapon.
Yeah. Just a bit of a shame.
Then again, I mean, the MP5, I'm pretty sure statistically far worse than the MP7, and people seem to be loving that. Here we go, Speak of the Devil, and it shall chime in with a multitude of frags. Actually, it's going to be just one for Sergey. It's Arlu to find a quick double with another weapon that doesn't really get picked up all too much. It's the Famus. Now you're going to do a lot of damage. Nuki's been good with the PT-50, finds himself one more before he goes down, and ENCE going to be moving on to their second round. But if you're Imperial, you get the bomb down once again inside of this B bomb site, you find yourself a couple of kills. They're going to be poised nicely for a bye in this following round.
Yeah, pretty happy about that situation. No doubt about that. And it's going to be interesting to see how they decide to play this out. Obviously, we know that they do have a couple of capable operators on their end. Whether or not they're going to opt to have a more of an up-tempo look at the game. Basically stay on rifles as much as possible. Also interested to see how Haji's going to do today. He had a really rough game, even though they ended up winning versus Hellraisers on Cash yesterday. Haji was pretty much a non-factor for the better part of that game until like maybe the last 2-3 rounds at the very most. And he was obviously one of the very few high points of that very late Envious lineup. So you kind of expected him to maintain that good form. That hasn't been as easy for him, but there's always a chance to strike back. See Nuki, yeah. Nuki already has that op in hand. Gives it up as well, so there's no surprise momentum or in store for Imperial. They've taken a pretty passive approach to this. Not too uncommon on the first buy round as well. Trying to get pop control as well as that Molotov is about to fizzle out. And there's a new one, so next takes actually a pretty significant amount of damage altogether. Both him and Haji have been damaged significantly. One of the benefits here, though, with 1 minute remaining, utility on the side of ENCE is starting to run low. Deep molly. This is actually a really nice proactive move from ENCE as well. You're running out of utility. There's still time left. At least grab some map control with the grenades you have remaining. And that's exactly what ENCE are doing. So they can shut off this main area pretty easily. They also have control over Pop still. Haven't been pushed back by any means. Seems like the majority of Imperial, though, they're going to move forward towards Ivy here.
Haji ends up standing in that Molotov for a little bit. Does get brought down to 16 HP.
So most of this damage has actually been self-inflicted on the side of Imperial. It's not what you want to see. Smoke. Oh, still going to work out for Imperial, and a great turnaround from Poon as well. Pound. Esperanto as well. Star player on this Imperial side is going to have to do a lot of work, but gets taken out by Aerial. Sergey and him combined. Time runs out as Nexa is nowhere near the bomb site. He was meant to be the lurker once they got the bomb plant down, but that never came to fruition. So a third round for ENCE, and sure, Nexa is able to hold on to his weapon, but not really too much to buy up on to supplement that AK. It's also going to be a bit of an issue once they get into that 5th round. We want to do another full buy.
Yeah, I think if you'd Excel there, if anything, you would have rather have died instead of being the last man left alive with that AK. But Arlu now bringing out the AWP for ENCE. That's where things get that much more worrying if you are Imperial. Now you have a man with so much history and experience behind him.
Definitely do, and see the majority of Imperial moving towards that inner bomb site with 4 players. Sergey is the only defender on this B bomb site for now. Arlu is making his rotation in, and that might be in the nick of time as well. Actually finds the first frag as well. Ooh, Pound finds 2 Deagle headshots. All of a sudden, Imperial have made their way onto that inner bomb site. That's going to be a guaranteed bomb plant as well. Not able to pick up any weapons yet, but Esperanto has gotten his hands on the AK that dropped from Nexa. He's going to put it to work as well. Nice double kill there. He's going to follow it up with a third, and easy as you like for Imperial. That was a round where ENCE were primed really to deal with that. They had Sergey in a good position to cover off lower. Alu as well, obviously finding the first pick as they dropped down the ramp. Just solid individual play on the side of Imperial.
And I mean, here's what should be getting you excited now if you are an Imperial fan, or actually just a fan of good Counter-Strike, is the man that was just on your screens, Esperanto. He's, you know, someone who within this team has absolutely fantastic performances. He's getting warmed up early on. He's looking good. He's top of the board right now with 7 kills, and it's been a decent start from him. But another thing that I think is exciting is seeing Pound start to show up in this matchup early on. You know, he's the man who opens it up with the Deagle. And if you think back to Montreal, didn't have the best of performances. I think day 1 especially was really bad for him, but kind of, you know, recovered a bit, and then it did all fall apart, admittedly, in the semi-finals. But that was his first international LAN. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, he's had time. Yeah, exactly. Very inexperienced. And now you see him coming to this one, and already, you know, I mean, versus ENCE, it's kind of a team they're more familiar playing against, I guess. But still, I mean, you know, having a decent time of things thus far.
Yeah, probably helped a lot having such a good game that as he did yesterday versus Hellraisers. He was an integral part of their victory. So good to see that, you know, doesn't need like a long kind of ramp up to get used to this international level. That's what you want out of these new talents. And I'm really excited to see Esperanto. In my book, he's easily one of the top 5 talents just in the world, in the world of Counter-Strike. Obviously, with names like Sergey, you know, it's on the opposite side of the server, and then you have Saiwu, obviously, and I'd probably put, you know, a guy like Stavin in there as well from Fragsters, just an excellent player. And they're all so young. I mean, they're all under the age of 17, I think. Most of them are 16, 17. So a lot of years to even get better at as well. And ENCE, even though they had solid start, 3 rounds in a row, they're back to CZs now. Oh, gets tagged up through smoke. Aerial actually finds Spawn. Man advantage for the Finns. Maji quick to respond though. He's going to find 2 as well. Solid job from the French player.
I mean, this is where stuff gets even more terrifying. Haji getting warmed up, finding a couple of kills in this round. He had a very, very slow start here, but he's going to be chiming in with his first few in round at number 5. A confidence-boosting round once again for Imperial. They're going to be locking in their second ENCE. No money left here for the CT sides. Just going to have to grit their teeth, go for the eco. Nuki with that AWP still in hand, floating around. He's going to have just a free reign to work that at range. And then as they push on in, these AKs should be able to clean up this round. Now you see that one flash bot on Alexa B. Maybe that means that we're just going to see a fast play up here towards the outer bomb site, and that's looking to be the case. Maybe a flash in towards main. You try to take the aggression.
Does seem likely. For now, they're just posturing up. Probably waiting for some sort of sound cue, maybe expecting Imperial to do something we saw actually quite a bit of yesterday from both Mouse and Sprout. He's sending, you know, 1 to 2 players out into yard to kind of scope things out, see what's going on. And obviously, if they were to do that, they would have ran into a bit of a mauling from the ENCE players, even with the limited weaponry. Again, pop control being taken. No challenge this time around. You can see Alexei is tucked back into the connector area, so they're banking everything on getting one sort of sound cue they can go off of and swarming whoever's available. Do like the fact that Imperial are taking their time though, and they're doing it in, I guess, in the correct fashion, not in areas of the map where you can bog down in between trains and whatnot. Using their utility as well to clear out ENCE players. Already leads to the first opening of the round. X7 goes down to Esperanto.
Yeah, now the rest of the guys should just fall into place as well. Not going to let these pistols get away with too much. Esperanto trying to pad these stats, trying to get those numbers up. Alexa B going to look to try and run away. He's hoping that these players come hunting so he can try and get something out of this round. He's trying to tease them into it, tempt them to finding him. But I tell you what, I don't fancy his odds. He is going to fall. So there we go, all tied up now at 3-3. But a buy is on the horizon, and Alu can go ahead and pick that AWP up now for this CT side.
And this is where ENCE needs to make their mark. I mean, obviously, you mentioned the fact that you'd seen these 2 teams exactly play on train as well. Going back to Montreal, which isn't that far removed. I guess it was in the start of September. And I mean, both teams had a better CT side than what they did T side. So for Imperial to get to 3 rounds already, pretty good start. There we go, Alu getting right into the thick of things with that AWP, as you mentioned. Finds Esperanto, so heaviest hitter on the side of Imperial already gone, but the rest of the team, they're moving towards the inner. That's where Sergey and Imperial will find themselves, I know Sergey combines nicely to find 2, and Nuki just caught out. His tippy toes being shot through the wood. Nexa, as well as he tries, downing Ariel is not going to be able to deal with Sergey. So 3K for the young Finnish superstar. And a 4th round on the board for ENCE. But luckily for Imperial, they've done a good enough job of keeping players alive, so they'll be able to buy up here, even if they do not find a bomb plant. And again, though, as you can see, ENCE, taking or being heads up about how they're positioning their players. Normally, or at the start of the game, we saw Alu being kind of that rotation between Connector and the inner bomb site. This time, as soon as he's moved towards Green Train, you have Ariel taking up his position as a bit of a backup, and works beautifully for the Finnish team. Healthy amount of grenades on both sides as well, so Imperial not necessarily limited as to what they want to do. Nuki taking a bit of damage from an HE though. And who do you think Imperial needs to rely on in terms of finding openings, or is that Pound from start to finish? Or
I mean, I know
do they have more strings to play off?
Yeah,
of?
so obviously you're going to be looking towards Esperanto. He's always the guy that we talk about in this team. Last time these guys played on this map, it was really the Esperanto show. The other person you're going to be looking at is going to be Nuki, because you need someone to be cancelling out Arlu, who was pivotal to the success of ENCE when they played on this map. He went absolutely unhinged. That was actually the thing that allowed ENCE to win this out. It was Imperial who reached map point first. So, it was a massive comeback on behalf of ENCE, all on the back of Arlu. And then, I think Pound, he's going to be the X factor for me in this one, though. He didn't have that fantastic performance at the LAN for them in DreamHack Montreal, but he's looked much better here. He's looking a lot more comfortable. We've seen him get off to a good start. We saw him yesterday have that great performance versus Hellraisers. If he's kind of getting over these jitters, suddenly you have like this very, very capable 3-man unit inside of this team that can do so much damage. And then we already have Pimp on the desk saying how Nexa is one of these top fragging IGLs. Haji as well, so much promise behind him. There's all the potential, all the pieces of the puzzle are here, however. We just need to see them show on up. Here's the push in towards this B-bomb site. They've lost Esperanto, but there he is, that other man that I've spoke about. Pound going to be stepping up, finding the first. Arlu trying to deny this bomb plant. It is going to be going down, and Nuki just managing to punch those numbers in time. Going to leave all the pressure onto Nexa and Haji. They've fallen away, that bomb. Down in the open right now, and Arlu's going to get spotted out. Nexa perhaps overextending just a little bit. Now leaves all the pressure onto Haji in a 1v1, but the bomb planted for him. He goes barreling in, and he's going to take the fight. A little bit risky there, a little bit worried for Imperial, but they still managed to find themselves a 4th, and
they do.
Will be everything all tied up. And now once again, they're starting to maybe pull ahead in terms of their economy. I think that's something else that's going to be interesting, because they're already up to 4 rounds. And when we saw these two teams play here last time, I think both teams only managed 5 on their T side. So yeah, this is already looking like a much more convincing game on behalf of Imperial. I'm really trying to get people rallied behind them. The odds are always, the thing is, it's like they're always this team that people sleep on, and then they do extremely well. So, they certainly go above people's expectations of them.
They definitely do. For right now, though, they're going to have an easy time of it. Once again, it's that inner bomb site. That's the main focus point. And, well, nobody from ENCE is there. They're on USPs. They've gone for a bit of a stack towards Yard, more specifically in towards A main. Nobody's going to be found there, though, as the entirety of Imperial is on that B bomb site. Haji spots out. Not even the lurk, but just the rotation coming in from ENCE. He's going to be able to deal with this nicely so far. Still pretty low on HP though, so probably doesn't want to move too far forward. Ollie's going to potentially die to the fire. Well, there you go. As it starts to spread, and Esperanto finds Alexi. And that 5th round already on the board for Imperial, so they're looking to improve their last bout.
So one thing I was going to say, though, as we build up into this round, you want to try and let me know the players I should be excited about over on the side of ENCE. I think that's a good way to do this. I've been hyping up Imperial. Now you can try and be the hype man for the Finns.
Obviously, Sergey is a player who's been on a lot of people's lips in that sense. Talked about a lot. He's, I guess, one of the first really promising rising talents that you've seen out of Finland for quite some time. I mean, obviously, Ollie's been for the longest time the sole Finnish player. Then you had Sunny coming into Mouse Sports and showing his worth. Sergey is of the same caliber type of player, and he's also extremely young and willing to learn and get better. Gets actually really good support from home, from what I've heard from Natu. Obviously, pretty significant part of this ENCE organization. He's just been gushing at how much potential this player has. Same thing goes for Aerial as well. Bit of a more unwritten leaf, not as much talked about on the side of, I guess, the community, but definitely someone to look out for as well, just in terms of raw fragging power. Again, though, Imperial back to really slow-paced style. Does keep ENCE guessing. They have opted in for the double op setup. We didn't see X7 play with an op yesterday, but he's going to bring it out now. A bit of a different look on the inner setup as well. You have Alu on higher. Also, he's going to be the main focal point. He's going to be the first point of contact, actually. Sergey's also close back here. Sergey's actually going to be one to find Esperanto immediately. Trying to dodge down the ladder, but you can spam those. 3 HP still alive, though. Can actually do some damage to Nexa. Knows the answer, but Alu's there to right his wrongs. And, well, Imperial, they're committing with a bomb in towards the inner bomb site here. Oh, and Pound, as he moves forward towards higher to see if he can get the drop on Alu, gets taken out by X7, who's rotated in. Bomb goes down, and the issue for Nuki right now is the fact that he has to buy so much time for Haji. Haji's all the way towards backline. He needs to make his way over there. For right now, it seems like ENCE is actually allowing that to be the case.
Yeah, for Nuki, this feels like he's got all the pressure in the world on his shoulders. And with Aerial wrapping around, Nuki going to manage himself one. Maybe that's all he needs to do, though. Haji so far away, and they are on the defuse. He's got to try and pick up the pace. Aerial doesn't have a kit, so he's going to hear the footsteps. He's sticking it, but he's off the bomb, and Haji going to be locking in that round. A 6th for Imperial. As Aerial learns the hard way why those kits are so valuable. That will be the round going the way of the T side. My goodness, what a round that was.
It's the second time around Haji's been in a clutch situation like that. Wins out, but both of the times ENCE players do not have a defuse kit at hand. I mean, I think you can make could have made a case for both of those rounds actually going the way of ENCE if there was a defuse kit to play with. But again, brilliantly done. Nuki does exactly what he needs to do, buys just enough time for Haji to make the rotation in without having to necessarily, trample around like an elephant and make his presence felt. So he's able to pick up one kill pretty easily onto X7 before he actually runs in towards the bomb site. And we talked about how Haji had a pretty rough showing in the first day versus Hellraisers. This time already, surpassed his frag total from that game. And we're only, a little bit over the halfway mark of the first half.
Yeah, I do always get the impression maybe with the Imperial guys it is just a slow start. Like there are some teams where that is just the case. The first few days even. Yeah, I mean,
never won a game on the first day.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, at least the morning game.
It was always normally with the French teams. They were never a fan of the early starts.
I actually heard Neelam talking about this as well, that Imperial do prefer starting on a bit later on into the day. He was pretty happy about them being the 5th match. Seems like the players are responding in the same fashion. And again, every time ENCE is on an eco, they just go as a unit, and it's working out.
Yeah, this could get bad very, very quickly. They've had to just run away with the bomb, and actually they're going to be hightailing out of there. It just manages to get away. So actually, Nuki going to be very, very quick on his feet, and that might be enough to save the round for Imperial. He missed the shot on the players that pushed that in, and that was what led to Haji going down. You imagine, though, if Nuki falls there, if Haji goes down as well, the bomb is right at the feet of ENCE. You have an AWP and an AK. You can juggle that AWP onto Alu. That's like a terrifying thing to have to run into.
Also a really tough area to just be able to retake any sort of control on the side of Imperial. Even if they have a ton of utility, it's still going to be really, really rough because there's so many angles that we need to clear out. Also considering the fact that Sergey was the one defender towards that inner bomb site. He has his EZ. If Pound just jumps into it, doesn't actually win out the duel, then you're locked in as Imperial. Even if if your goal is to not necessarily get the bomb immediately, you actually just want to get some map control, potentially set up pincers, then that could have very easily spiraled. But Imperial deal well with it. Nexo was in the right place at the right time to stop any sort of forward aggression from ENCE there. The 7th round for Imperial. They have to be feeling really, really good about how they're looking in this match so far. As you mentioned, this time it is a best of 1, not a best of 3. So no second chances for ENCE here. They need to get going. They need to get going fast as well. Again, back to that double op setup. So it is pretty much emptying out the entire bank account for ENCE. So it means limited utility on the 2 snipers. Let's see what they have planned for this one. Aerial's going to push aggressively into Pop. We have seen Imperial have been interested in actually using quite a bit of utility, if not necessarily to take Pop control, just to do something from that position, at least just make sure there's nobody from ENCE allowed in this very area. Could be beneficial for a ton of reasons. Obviously, if you want to go towards yards, pop is a pretty essential place to have control over. But again, if you're moving towards that inner bomb site, which we've seen Imperial do quite a bit, it is very nice to deny any sort of quick rotations. And Aerial, kind of a deja vu situation from a couple of rounds ago where he found Esperanto. He's going to find, well, he's going to find Haji first, and then Esperanto just dies to the fire, completely unforced, really. Alexi's going to feel good about that, and now the inner push comes. Alu already has a gap over the smoke. There we go, goes to work. 2 players left on the side of Imperial. Next is going to do some work. Haven't seen too much of him yet. That's probably why he gets immediately traded by Sergey. The Pound does actually make it onto the side, but no hope of actually getting a bomb plant down.
Yeah, they're going to be able to save those double AWPs heading forward as well. Actually, yeah, triple AWP. I don't know if that was intentional. I'm interested to see what they try and do with it.
This reminds me of what VP used to do. Again, this is starting to be a while ago. This is when Existence was in G2, or the previous edition of G2. So probably back to like 2016 or something, or even before. Whenever Virtus Pro started to struggle on CT side of train, they would just buy enough ops. Like, if 1 wasn't enough, then they'd go with 2. If 2 wasn't enough, then they'd go with 3. And usually at that point, teams had no idea what was going on around them. So it worked out somehow, some way. Maybe that's the logic that ENCE is following.
It's certainly a good little gimmick just to go ahead and steal a round away, right, till of course they realize you're running 3 AWPs, and then you can kind of, play against that. But Imperial are going to be going back to basics, back to this B bomb site. They've had a decent bit of success here. Now they're going to be running into the likes of Alu and Sergey. Certainly not the easiest duo to go face-to-face against, but let's wait and see. The smokes, the flashes, all of it raining on in, and now Imperial looking to try and blitz on through, but already rotations coming in. Alexa B going to be here with that second AWP, so Sergey, he's going to spray down 2 over at the ramp, make that a 3rd, and oh my goodness, what a performance this is from him. Single-handedly, he's going to be anchoring down this B bomb site. Nuki left in a 1v5, it's just an ocean of death, and there's Fins in the water, so Nuki wants to get out of there. He's going to go peeking on in. Alexa B finishes things off, and that will be the round going the way of ENCE. That is just fantastic stuff from Sergey.
If you were looking for reasons to be excited for ENCE, then there you have it. Sergey answering to the call. That's just what they needed as well, keeping as many players alive as possible, making sure that they're not going to get necessarily reset immediately. And, I mean, if you're ENCE at this point, you kind of want to close out this half, get 8 rounds at least to win the half in that sense. Hopefully get off to a good start on the T side. Imperial have done a ton of work so far. Haji's actually going to opt in for an AK here. See a little bit of Kevlar purchased up on Esperanto as well, in addition to the Eagle. Nuki's going to go down immediately to X7. That's the first time we've seen any real action towards Ivy in a long while. X7 is ready, though. I feel like Haji's taking like a lot of utility damage, almost regardless of where he is on the map. Just a bit of a magnet to these grenades.
I mean, that's one thing I do really like about ENCE. They just seem to play really, really solid CS, right? And that's, usually with a lot of these kind of newer teams in the sense of, you don't have the most proven players in the world. They don't play, they're a lot more puggy. They're a lot more, less kind of tactically sound. And you imagine that's because, you have people like Natu, like Arlu in this team who really, aren't going to let them stray too far from what they know to be, the good
Natu's
and proper.
Natu's going to come around with like a, if not, I guess his finish, so a hockey stick, not a baseball bat, but yeah. He's going to be watching over them, making sure they play like fundamentally
I can't tell
sound.
if it's more threatening because it's a hockey stick or less threatening.
I think it's just normal in Finland. Everybody has a hockey stick,
everyone
right?
has one.
It's like them and Canadians. But yeah, Natu's not going to let them play puggy CS in that style. And I mean, in terms of improvement, like long-term improvement and consistency, I think that's the way to go as well. Obviously, for teams that offer the more chaotic style, that's a great way of showing your individual flair. Aerial finds Pound. And again, it's that inner bomb site. Imperial really loving what they're finding here most of the time. They're going to have to run into Alu once again, and it's not going to pan out too well. They do get the bomb on the site, though, so that's going to be a bomb plant for them. They can be happy about how this turned out. So even if Esperanto doesn't have too much of a chance of actually winning a round here, he does make sure that Imperial are going to get a solid buy going into the last round.
Yeah, there's still a potential here for Imperial to win out the half over on this T side, which
nice change of nice change of pace from Montreal at least.
Yeah, most definitely. And you know, the other kind of thing, if you recall, if you think back to Montreal, even if you didn't manage to watch it, if you go ahead and take a look at the stats, maybe even, you'd see that someone who was key to the success was Alu. It was absolutely unhinged performance from him there. Right now, we still really have him, have yet to see him channel that inner god that we know that this man can be. He's still been putting up decent numbers, not knocking the guy. Just mean, it was a fantastic performance from him at Montreal that locked in that win for ENCE. Now, Imperial, this time with 4 players down here towards Ivy, pushing the way of X7. He's going to be on that secondary AWP, so might get tested here as the flash rains in. He's going to get caught a bit by surprise. Alexa B.
Oh, that molly's not deep enough.
And yeah, that doesn't force him away. He's allowed to overstay his welcome here. The nade rains in and finds a little bit of damage. This is going to be the thing that finishes off Power. Now Arlu and Aerial with frags aplenty. Haji left in a 1v2. The bomb down and out in the open, and Sergey just going to miss the timing as he hides behind the buffer. Haji taps him down. Now the 1v1 versus X7, and he's on the AWP as well. So the fact that Haji tagged out at 29 HP might not matter too much right now. Going to be on the Deagle.
Probably been called out by Sergey, and he's done significant damage, and there's no bomb plant yet, so X7 might be expecting a rotation in towards the inner bomb site. We'll see how patient both these players can be.
Yeah, this is such a mind game right now. 40 seconds left on that clock, and Haji starting to try and clear these angles.
It seems like X7, yeah, he's contemplating the idea of Haji making their full rotation back in towards Ivy. We'll see if he takes the right or left. He's going to go towards that inner bomb site. So as a heads up as X7 has been so far, it's not going to pan out for him, but time is starting to tick a little bit low, so Haji needs to get towards that bomb site. Or is he actually going back into connector? He actually is. This is, okay, it's just doing a double take here. Drops the Molotov, that gives it the jig. It's also going to get the bomb plant down. Now it's a real challenge for X7 to be able to actually find where Haji is hidden himself. He has no idea where the bomb plant is as of right now. Seems like he's expecting a default plant. Oh, still gets the drop on Haji though. So, an 8th round for ENCE. They do manage to close it out, winning 4 rounds in a row to end the first half. I guess all things considered, they have to be happy about that. But Imperial, by no means, have any reason to hang their heads. 7 rounds on the T side. That's 2 more than what they had in Montreal, and that time it was barely not enough. So they've positioned themselves better this time around.
Yeah, I mean, one thing as well, like speaking from the coach of Imperial, Neil, Neil Murphy, or Neil M, that's the one. But Gerthy Murphy, that's what I know him as in the UK.
Obviously.
That's his name in the UK scene. Yeah. He is pretty frustrated by the whole Imperial being kind of, never picked in the prediction game. That's something that really gets to him. He really believes in this team, and that's something that I think is very refreshing to see. He's got a lot of fire to try and make this team be one that is respected. That's something that I have to say about these Imperial boys. Now, ENCE, they are going to be buying up Smoke and 2 flashes over on Alexa B. Armor for the rest of the gang. For Imperial, you can see it's just armor across the board. No kits. That's an important thing to note. So if this bomb goes down, Imperial are going to have to be very, very fast in the retake. Leon going to be playing for that retake over here towards B, which feels a little bit risky, but they might have made the right gamble here, as ENCE are definitely setting up for this. They play that one smoke that they have, going to go raining on in down towards the connector, and now the flashes follow up. So they go charging on by Esperanto. He's not ready for them to be that close, and it's a flurry of frags coming in for the ENCE side. It is just Nuki and Nexa left alive, and try as they might, they can't find anything to get them back into this round. So ENCE going to be picking up the pistol. It's quick, it's convincing, and they go flawless as well.
That one flash from Alexi flashing out Esperanto puts him out of position, allows for ENCE to just get just far enough out onto the yard area to start raining down hell. That's really impressive by ENCE, not dropping a single member as well. And as you said, Imperial, they've made the right gamble in that sense, had 4 players out towards the yard area. Just couldn't get anything to connect. And this time they were seeing a good old deco from Imperial. Try to land those 1 deeks to bring them back into this. Nobody really biting from ENCE as of now, though. Looks like to spot out Sergey initially. falls back, doesn't want to hang around for too long, and that also forces a rotation for Imperial. You can see Nuki sitting in connector. As the ENCE taking their time. Similar to what we saw Imperial do, they don't want to run into a bit of a stack from the CT side and potentially lose what is affectionately known as a bonus round. They want to get off to that very much needed solid T start. Potentially get an early op up on Alu. Bomb gets put down. No real indication from Imperial that they want to go aggressive either. They're just content with holding their positions as is. And we see some movement from the ENCE squad. All right, so the decoy of X7 is put into motion. Well, it's going to buy time for Alexi and Ariel to actually make their way out towards the yard area. They find 2 frags, but quick return from Nuki there. But eventually, ENCE deals with this nicely, only next to left. First person to see any contact, and he's going to connect with the head of Ariel as well. 2 players left on the side of ENCE. Still a lot of work to be done for next, and he doesn't have a defuse kit either. He's going to have to be pretty quick about this unless his goal is to just pick up a weapon. That might prove to be hard as well.
Yeah, he's going to get spotted there by Alu. Now there is still Sergey inside of the bomb site to try and deal with next. Not going to be able to get too much done aside from that 1 kill at the very end that he found. That will be a 10th round for ENCE to try as Imperial might. They're not able to go ahead and steal a round with the Deagles. It will just be the eco from them now. You can see Nuki's saving up that extra money so he can go for the AWP in this following round. Same case for Alu over on the side of ENCE. He's got $3,000, the Mac 10 as well, so a chance to make some money here. And this should be going 11-7 before we see Imperial with their first buy. So focusing on this next round, I'm excited to see this duel that we could potentially get between Nuki and Alu. That's going to be one of the things that I think is going to set the pace here in this second half. This round just one thing right off. Esperanto finds one. That doesn't matter really whatsoever. Alu's not quite able to save that AK in time, which they'll be a bit gutted about, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, Alu's got $8,000 for goodness sake, so he's a very, very rich Finn, and he's probably feeling good about that.
The question is whether or not they're going to go for a bit of a bonus round here. Actually, you can see that he's picked up an off there. So no bonus round from ENCE. They're just keen on punching in, keeping the pressure up really from the start. Makes sense as well. Really just put back Imperial to the Stone Ages in terms of economy. Sergey is the one who's been gifted the Mac 10 for this time around. We do actually see an op on Nuki as well. Again, similar setup to what we saw from the anti-eco round on ENCE. 1 player over towards the main area to kind of just hold off any sort of aggression from potentially Ivy or main. He's actually going to join up with the rest of the squad pretty early on. So clear indication of an inner push coming in, and Nuki's already in place. Finds Alu, so that duel you talked about already 1-0 for the Lithuanian. Nexa doing a great job there on Hyatt with the smoke as cover. Finds 2 players as well. And ENCE just seemingly not finding any sort of entrance to the bomb site. Even though X7 is able to pick up a bit of a consolation frag, Sergey with a Mac 10. I mean, you don't favor his chances, do you? And Esperanto is going to put him to bed. Nice and easy round for Imperial there.
Kind of a very, very quick turnaround at finding their first CT round. Now, of course, that was really the attempted bonus. Obviously, still had like the 1 Mac 10 in play. I guess you'd call it a bonus. It's not really in the traditional sense.
The weakest of bonus rounds in that sense.
Doesn't really feel like a bonus if you are ENCE, because now you head into this round here and you have Alexi looking very, very limited. He's been dropped an AK over, but in terms of utility, he's pretty lackluster, as is Sergey and Alu. So you're looking at this, 3 smokes ready to work with. You're throwing them out already over here towards this A bomb site, trying to sell your fake while the rest of the boys head on over toward this inner bomb site, and that's, of course, where Nexa resides. Now, in this previous round, it was him who got 3 kills to carry them through to a victory. Can he repeat those heroics once more? He's already got Nuki come rotating in to help out.
This time, Nuki doesn't have an op, though. They were not able to salvage that in the previous round. So that lower ramp hold is going to be a little bit tougher. He's actually going to have to fall back a bit, smokes himself off. Yeah, no kills this time around for Imperial, and some of the ENCE players have moved forward. X7. Not going to win at the duel with Nuki, though. So the retake begins.
Yeah, man advantage up in favor of Imperial, but that bomb being down, that does cause problems. They're the ones on the clock, and Esperanto able to get the trade. Looking like he might try and go through this smoke. You have to be wary as well as Haji's wrapping around from behind. It's Aerial, though, to find this quick double. Oh, make that a triple, and Aerial. He's not looking like a fish out of water. He's looking perfectly comfortable down towards B. I was trying to make a little mermaid joke, but it kind of all went downhill. So ENCE picking themselves up a 20th round and 12th round. Albert, you know, it's
English is a hard language. I feel
pretty. Yeah, I mean, I can relate.
I was so expecting
We should just
the
switch to
aerial
Norwegian.
pun, like the aviation pun.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I never
Fish
even
out of
considered
water,
that.
flying fish.
We can get that in there somewhere. You know, that's
We'll
we'll
shoehorn it
save
in
that for the
somehow.
future.
Yeah.
But it's still 12-8 right now.
Yeah.
And you know,
reset
that's
time.
Yeah,
Reset City
exactly.
for Imperial. That's nightmare for them right now. And unlike what we saw, I mean, you see what big of a difference it is. Just so, even if you can get an equal trade in that kind of a scenario, just not allowing the Ts to get far forward. Even though if X7 is not able to find a frag, does solid damage onto one of the Imperial players, which allows for Alexi to find a frag. And again, it's just hard to have to push forward in those kind of scenarios where you will constantly have to check, you know, behind you and your side angles on the CT side. Well played from ENCE there. Here we see Aerial going to work here. That's his first frag onto Nexa. That's very well done. So far, all the highlighted players really from ENCE's side that we put a spotlight on are delivering. Sergey, Aerial, and also Alu doing good work. And both of these teams seem to have an affection for that inner bomb site. And once again, we're seeing the standard from ENCE. Such sole defender, it's Alu this time around. Over towards T-spawn, just making sure nobody pushes too far up. See one of the Imperial players, it's Pound. Seeing if he can get sneaky. Well, he's actually going to find Alu as well, somehow. Wins out that duel. I might actually put a bit of a timer on ENCE's ideas. Maybe they want to focus up and go towards that inner bomb site immediately. Imperial on their end, though. Very committed towards that outer bomb side, but as I say that, there's a mass rotation towards inner. Two players already leaving out, and they, instead of having a bit of a stack towards the bomb train now, a bit more spread out. Again, this kind of range is always going to favor the AK, since we see Alexi do a ton of damage, but the triple man setup from Imperial is going to net them another kill, but the inner bomb side has been lost, and X7 pushing forward once again. It's going to be an issue to deal with for Imperial here, and he's just going to continue his rampage right now. Second frag of the round, and 3v3 situation, bomb down. Imperial, what can they hope to do here? Potentially just save that AK in the hands of Nexa. Actually going for it, and they're going to find Sergey as well. No defuse kit, though.
Ooh, but that's the frag onto X7, and now it is just Aerial left in this hot seat. 1v3, and he's going to find Nuki, but there we go. Nexa gets the trade. They're on the defuse. I think there's just enough time left for it as well. So Imperial, it's going to come down to the wire, but I think he's got that. Yeah, 9th round for the Imperial CT side on the back of what was a very, very small investment. I don't even think they put, what, like maybe like a few $100s into that round? Yeah, that's literally it, onto the PT50.
Onto Pound. He finds Alu, wins out that duel somehow, some way, with excellent marksmanship. And, well, if you're ENCE, you're feeling pretty bummed out about that. That's a round you should be winning. You should be sitting at 13 rounds at this point, not having allowed Imperial to get to 9. It's also going to be a massive hit to their economy as well, even though they are playing obviously on the side of the Ts, cheaper weaponry and whatnot, and they did get a bomb plan, and it's a round that you should be winning. There you go. That buys a little bit more hope, though, for Imperial here as they get back to weapons a little bit sooner than expected.
Yeah, they're actually going to have a lot of money as well. They could afford to move into double orbs if they really wanted to. You know, sometimes we see Esperanto pick that up alongside Nuki. There's a few players that you could try to juggle it around onto. And that does look to be the case. They've gone for the AWP on Esperanto and Nuki, so...
Still have 2 AKs to their names as well, which is going to be nice. And a healthy amount of grenades. And
ENCE, try and pronounce Nuki's full name? You just missed it.
I'm not even going to try. I saw it yesterday. It's like Sagauskas Seminilakis or something like that.
That was probably pretty good. I mean, that convinced me.
These Lithuanian guys have the craziest names of all. It's impossible to pronounce
I love
for
it.
me. Yeah, no, it's brilliant. It's just like I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce it anymore.
Here's Esperanto. It's going to be a shooting gallery for him here. All four, well, now 4 players pushing his way. And Esperanto, chance to go ahead and get this frag movie highlight. He's only going to get 3 and then dies to a Glock, so maybe that one won't quite make the cut, but we never know. The bomb might go down here, and that's a pretty big win for ENCE, and indeed it does. Now, Sergey's only got a Glock in his pocket, so he's going to go ahead and go down as Nexa finds the quick double there at the very end. Regardless, a 10th for Imperial, 4 players staying alive. That's going to be the economy now starting to build up over here on this CT side. You can see you got Nexa sitting around $8,000. Now he's going to have to drop over to Esperanto as he throws the AWP back across. But still, you know, you can see you have that buffer now built up on this CT side. They can sustain a loss and still take a buy into the next round. That's always a nice kind of buffer to have, especially at this point in the game. 12-10, this isn't where you want to have your resets coming in.
That's definitely true. All back in hands of Alu, though. He's been going back and forth in the duel with Nuki. Might be an integral part of a potential ENCE win here. Has to go their way. We'll see, though. A little bit of a different look from ENCE. Again, still the majority of players towards white walls. This time, though, it's X7 left to his own devices over towards Ivy. And he's going to put a lot more pressure. This is something that Imperial haven't seen yet, so might catch them off by surprise. Oh, Esperanto tries to go for a quick peek. Not going to be successful. Nexa is there, though, to potentially back him up, but it's not going to be able to find a frag. And again, it's that inner bomb site for both teams slipping away. Bomb plant going to go down uncontested, and, well, there's nothing really that Imperial can try to do in this situation. They have only one player towards the bomb site at this point, and that's Pound. But as you can see, the 2 remaining teammates are not really interested in actually attempting a retake, so he's going to get the hell out of dodge. Haji's already made his way to T spawn. The question is whether or not X7 is going to run into one of these players. If Pound makes a little bit too much noise, he might get found out. He's playing this rather safe, though. Now, Harry, if you were to make a frag movie of Esperanto, what would you name it? There's only one right answer here.
I mean, what would you name it?
Alexa, play Esperanto 2.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Alexa, play Esperanto 2. Oh,
that's a good one.
Yeah, no, that is actually pretty good.
So it hurts a little bit inside.
Maybe when Imperial win this event, you know, that's what they can go ahead and title the frag movie.
Yeah.
You know, their road to redemption. And take a look at those odds. People still, you know, one of the folks over at LootBet still leaning the way of this end side pretty heavily as well.
Oh, and ENCE were able to bring a round back now without taking any losses. So they have to feel pretty good about their situation. That means that they're going to get 2 buys in as well. And again, new look. Alexi is the one to venture out into unknown territory. Oh, it's just going to dodge Pound as well, checking that angle. It could really be the linchpin of this round for ENCE. Haji on his end, though, on the opposite side of the train, so decided to move forward. Still has cover from Pop Dog due to E-Box, and Alexi's actually going to get found by Esperanto, but immediately traded by Alu. You mentioned how integral he was in the first matchup these teams had in Montreal. It's going to remain true as well. Haji not able to find the frag, and he's actually going to get taken down. Right now, trade's going back and forth, but in the favor of ENCE.
Next up, Conventual. Here's Nuki trying to save the day, and now he has to go 1v1. David v Goliath. Nuki Elite versus Alu. He's wrapped on round. Going to try and take him by surprise. And over at the E-Box, just going to miss the timing. Nuki's already crossed all the way over here into Ivy. Alu dipping on out, electing just to leave for now. Head on over here towards this B-bomb site. He does have the bomb on his back. There's 30 seconds left as he creeps on in. And as we can see, Nuki currently sits down towards that Ivy position all the way over on A. He's going to have a pretty lengthy rotate, all things considered.
Yeah, kind of a similar situation as to what we saw X7 find themselves in that 1v1 versus Haji. Although opting to go for that inner bomb site. He's going to potentially get, I guess, an easier bomb plant down and actually be able to get out of dodge. He has a Molotov as well, so that, no, a smoke grenade as well, so that Molotov on the side of Nuki is not necessarily going to be the most efficient. Can always still try to go for smoke diffuse here. He does have a diffuse kit, but Alu is in a prime position to deal with this.
Yeah, now we have to just watch on the right-hand side of your screen. You can see Nuki is head on a swivel. So many angles to check. Time ticking down as well. There's only a smoke up on Arlu. So Nuki going to be throwing out that one incendiary, taps the bomb. He only has the one angle to watch down here towards ramp. Just catches the timing. Arlu goes walking round, but Nuki's going to land the shot. And with seconds to spare, he's going to be locking in that defuse. 11-13. And a hat trick from Nuki to go ahead and get that done. Pause called on in as well. And I tell you what, I'm never a big fan of those split vision things, but just then I think it was very interesting seeing how those two players had to try and play up against one another.
Absolutely. Nuki remaining ice cold. Obviously, the Molotov towards higher is a great way to force Alu into one pathway. I think Alu potentially, again, if you could have replayed the round, maybe he just extinguishes the molly immediately with the smoke, so Nuki can't feel safe about having higher caught off. But yeah, nonetheless, you see the patience. Again, tapping the bomb, knowing that Alu has to, potentially peek at one point. Alu probably sitting there because he's kind of just half peeking initially, having that internal clock go off as the second he hears the diffuse go off. A much needed round, and Nuki once again getting the better of Alu in the off duel. Here we go though, new buy. In the books for ENCE. Still going to get one player out there into yard as well. And once again, it's Alexi. Didn't find a frag last time around, but might be serving as more of a distraction than anything else. There we go. Finds the challenge versus pound. Does more damage, but not really keen on actually continuing it. He is still getting a lot of vision here. See the inner push coming out. This time, Alu finally responds on Nuki. Did trade out his teammate though, and meanwhile, Alexi's taking a significant amount of damage. He's down to 3.
Yeah, that bomb on the back of X7 and Sergey, they've both pushed out from Ivy in towards this A bomb site. Imperial, this is the first time in a long time they start to maybe over-rotate players into B. Esperanto is going to be not Molotov rather, but smoked off the angle. Alu going to be chiming in with his second kill of the round as once again he looks to try and relive the carry performance that we saw him give the last time these two teams played on this very map. And it is just Nexa and Esperanto left up. They're forced to try and hold on to these AWPs. Double AWP in the retake, never ideal. You're already down 2-man as well. And also, if you hold on to these, you can try and scavenge something into this next round. It's going to go 14-11 in favor of ENCE. The last time that these teams met on this map, it went through to overtime. Do you think we're going to be seeing another one of those today, Havol? We could, I think.
We definitely could. We saw plenty of rounds being played yesterday in our last 4 games.
Yeah, I don't think we haven't. I think the shortest game we've had has been 30 rounds, right?
Yeah, 16-14.
Yeah,
as quick as you get it. Apparently, when we get to do games, and I mean Imperial, they're gonna have to look to do something of the same if they want to win in this one. Keep in mind, Imperial, they did have a better CT side than T side back in Montreal. That time, they were also the first team to actually get to map point. This time, ENCE is looking pretty primed to do so, though. As we see the buy coming up for Imperial. As you said, not the greatest, but still they did save 2 AWPs, so that is definitely something to work with. One issue is that they're not going to have the most utility to work with, and the slow kind of pace style we've seen from ENCE, even though they've had rounds where they've sent Alexi out as a bit of a scout towards yard, they haven't committed to anything at all early on in the round, so that's going to be an issue for Imperial. They need to hold on to whatever utility they have and make the most out of it. They've gone for a 2-man setup towards the inner. Oh, Niki's going to get flashed out of position as well. Still wins out versus Alu. He can connect with something more, and he does as well. Nexa chimes in for one as well. Sergey finally finds one response here. Nuki still pressuring him a lot. Well, it's looking very promising. Now it's down to 2v3 here. Still doable for ENCE. No bomb plant down, though. That's down in ramp. And Sergey's kind of just left on his own here, trying to get a quick wraparound.
Oh, no. They're starting to throw this one away, Halvor. It feels like 2v2 now. What was a 4 versus 2 with Sergey on 16 HP. Finally, someone just pistols him down. And it all now falls onto X7. He's got time. He can go ahead and retrieve that bomb. He smokes it off, leaving him only with the Molotov in hand. I'm going to sell the fact that maybe he's ran away. And Imperial, they try and take the gamble. They go ahead and up and leave this B bomb site. X7's just been handed it for free. Esperanto going to stick around just a little bit.
Oh, the bomb? X7, though. How far is he going to go? Is he trying to find that first player? Could definitely understand that logic of wanting to find one of the Imperial players, but decides to get the bomb plant down. That's money secured. Loses out on the duel with Esperanto. That could have been a really good situation for X7 to be in if he wins that duel, because Haji at that point had gone all the way around towards Ivy to see what was going on. See Imperial taking their time, making sure they maintain those 2 ops on their side. As they make it to 12. Now I guess the big question is whether or not ENCE, they did get a bomb plant, but probably not going to have the greatest of buys considering they just got reset. So I might see another eco coming out of the Finns before they attempt to get to match point. And once again, we're seeing Nuki having massive impact there towards the inner bomb site. It's Op doing a lot more lifting than what it did on the first half. That's good to see for them. Definitely needed as well.
Yeah, we can see right now, Paul's called on in because you see those coaches over in the background having some words with the squad. And you got Neil M giving a rousing speech out to the rest of the team. And then over on the inside, of course, Twister going to be saying some much more monotone words with the squad.
Guys, do winning strategy. All right? Like, that's how Finland works. No, for those of you...
because they're so calculated like that.
Oh, they
That's
are.
how they're so damn good.
Ice in their veins, for sure. And Twista is a Vile of that as well. I mean, for people who, people know that Natu and Lurpus, those guys have been around forever. Twista's been around, just as long as them, played in many solid Finnish teams through 1.6 and CSGO before finally taking that coach role for ENCE. This time around, next is the sole defender on that inner bomb side, and he only has a FAMAS. FAMAS and 2 flashes. That's not what we want to try to hold off that inner bomb site with, and he's going to get some help now from Nuki on Operas, who's pretty much been able to get a frag at least to his name every time ENCE has tried to move towards that inner bomb site. We'll see, though, a bit bigger of a spread on the side of ENCE this time around. You can see Alu in T-spawn, X7 towards Ivy. So no real committal. This might just be a yard take eventually as Elixir and Aerial move back towards T-spawn, probably to set up towards the containers. Let's see how successful they can be with this. Windows being shot out. Sergey actually moving back towards the inner. He only has 1 smoke, so I'm assuming he can't use that to potentially put on any pressure towards the inner bomb side. He's going to have to use his to smoke outside. Here we go, the setup. X7 already in position.
Here comes the standard smoke take as they go raining on in. They're going to try and cordon off this bomb site. The wall of smokes does allow Aerial safe passage in along with the rest of the squad. X7 going to be the man to open Esperanto top of the board right now for Imperial, lurking on the other side of this smoke, desperately looking for a gap, something, so that he can find an advantage somewhere. And Esperanto does manage one, but it's not going to be enough. Nexa now left in a 1v4, does at least find that first kill, spots out another, but Sergey is there to shut him down. And what a round that is from ENCE. Sergey is just clinical on the entries. One thing I think it's worth noting as well is early on we were kind of saying how Pau may be getting over some of those jitters, kind of showing some promise. He's fallen right off here in this second half.
He kind of has, and that's a shame. Team definitely needs him to be able to be a vital part, have some impact as we get towards the closing stages. And I mean, well, it doesn't get closer to finishing a game than right now. ENCE sitting at 15 rounds already. They've got match point. And while the buy coming in from Imperial, they were rocking double ops, now they're rocking double scouts. We need to find something. Potentially play a little bit more aggressive than what we've seen out of them initially. And Pound, last time he ventured out into Ivy, he won out a duel versus Alu. Let's see if he can be able to do that again, this time with a Deagle. A bit more forward positioning from Nex as well towards inner. Nice flash to have Pound fall off a little bit from his position. And once again, not really interested in actually pushing up the tempo. Sergey's going to move in towards inner here. He might run into Nexa on a bit of an off angle. Oh, that's a nice flash. Perfectly played from ENCE. Probably not intended to flash Nexa specifically, more someone who's playing close by the ramp, but the result is the same, and pretty big rotation coming in from Imperial as well. 2 players committed towards that inner bomb site. Nuki out in yard. He's going to have to do a lot of tag damage here. Hopefully get some kills as well if they're going to have a shot at this. That's the tag onto Alexi. Does get Molotov out. I'm stuck on the long train. Not able to do anything else. Aerial with a quick finish, and now ENCE looking primed to take this victory. Esperanto, though, answering back with 1.
still, there's so much yet to do. And X7, they're going to be chiming in with another. It is just Esperanto and Haji left up. Here's the peek on out from Sergey, and that's going to be the thing that ends it. And will be ENCE picking up trade and moving into that 2-0 category, 16 to 12 here over Imperial, which now means they move into that 1-1 slot.
Absolutely elated look on the Finnish side.
Yeah,
as they win, you can see jubilations all around. No, I think they're just focused on their task ahead. You know, they're not qualified by any means, but 2-0, excellent position for such an inexperienced team outside of Alu, you know, to be in. This is a great showing from them from start to finish, crushing Tyloo yesterday, and again, pretty promising result here versus Imperial.
Yeah, most definitely. I didn't think we'd be too disappointed with that. I mean, we saw as well. It wasn't all the Alu show. In fact, it was much more kind of the rest of the guys stepping up and doing just as well. The only man maybe falling a little bit quiet was Alexa B, but the rest of the team very much there and showing up in spades, which I think they can be happy with now. Looking at the rest of these games.
Absolutely. I mean, again, Alexei, he's the game leader. Just to clarify that as well. Probably do see a better individual performances from him on average, but again, when you have four teammates dropping 20 at least, you're not necessarily needed as much. So that's a nice benefit to have. And again, yeah, it's cool to see that all the young talent on the side of ENCE is really able to shine through and maintain it for an entirety of the game as well, not just one half or parts of the game. So I think that's great signs going forward.
Well, you and I could discuss this all day long, Halvor, but we're going to give this one over to Frankie, who has ENCE on a standby over at the stage.
Alexip, we meet again. And you met Imperial again for the second time. You did beat them at DreamHack Montreal, and you bested them again. Were you satisfied with that performance?
Yeah, really satisfied.
It was a bit of a close one because you got a bit of a lead, but they were always catching up on you. They did keep you on your toes. What do you think is the strongest thing about that lineup?
You mean Imperial?
I do indeed.
They're really good players individually. I respect them. They if you give them 1 inch, they will take it. So we just kept our composure and played as a 5-man unit and won.
How many inches did you give exactly to let them take some away from you?
Excuse me?
How many? You said if you give them 1 inch, they take it. So you did give them a few inches there, didn't you?
Yeah, 250.
There we go. There we go. We have the answer. Now, setting up across the room from us, Mouse, one of those teams I imagine you want to face, because they do have a Finnish player called Sunny on their team. Do you want to see them in the top 8?
Yeah, sure.
Do you think you can beat them?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, there we go. Well, fighting talk there. I can't wait to see if that happens, because you only have one more match to win before that top 8 place is confirmed. So what are you guys going to do tonight to prepare for that, hopefully, final match?
We're going to watch the rest of the games and watch our own game and talk it through. And after that, when we get our opponent, we will prepare for them and just sleep well and go in.
Well, you've got quite a lot of matches to watch, so I'm going to let you go and join the rest of your team. Congratulations, Alexib, and good luck tomorrow. For you guys, I've already mentioned one of the teams that's coming up next, Mouse. They are going to be facing off against CyberZen. So it's going to be a super interesting game. I know who my money's on, but we want to know who you guys are favouring in Twitch chat. So you have the opportunity to vote and have your say right now. But let's head back to the desk and find out how exactly that last match went down.
Thank you, Frankie. Yes, we will have a look at how that match went down. Some short answers there, as we expect from the Finnish guys after these many interviews. But either way, a pretty confident win. It started to maybe slip away from him at times. He was speaking about in the interview, right? You give them 1 inch and they will definitely take it. They've got the frag power to kind of overrun them. But it looked like ENCE had pretty good control.
We saw exactly that on the 4th round of the game, right? We saw that as soon as they did that explosion down low round, the 2 Deagle kills to open, followed by Esperanto with the 3 AK kills up at Connector. And that point, they had a spiral of rounds off of that. I felt that CT half, if they didn't find themselves, if ENCE didn't find themselves in that economic limbo where, they lost 3 in a row, they finally won 1, and then they got reset instantly, right? Yeah. They could have avoided that. I think this game would have been even more clear-cut, but that's the thing. When the players from Imperial can just break open the bomb site and win a round that they shouldn't, right? Or they do like a miracle round. If that happens several times, the stats back that up, it is going to be a closer game. They won 3 1vx situations to only 1 of ENCE's, but both pistol rounds did go in the favor of ENCE. Just one thing I want to note, when there's later stages, obviously we had that Alu losing that one-on-one situation. He did that weird wide peek, and even on an outside execute they just did then, they were missing smokes. There's one that was meant to land on the bomb train, it actually dripped a little bit closer, went towards connector. Didn't punish them, no one was there, but just a couple of things which are uncharacteristic from ENCE.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think Imperial had the chance in the first half of making that a clear-cut win, basically being up 7-3, I believe it was. That's the moment when they had to pick up the game and just continue. As you said, though, when ENCE were getting into or getting out of the limbo of the economical situation, then it was fine for them. This is a round you can't lose, right? This is a round you have to win, especially considering the implications of the round. Now, it's restarting Imperial and setting them up for economical damage. You see the following round right here, they have 5 CCs and can't defend against this. So it was a bad thing for ENCE going into this one. Will say, though, that Imperial, I feel, despite losing both pistol rounds, which is an anomaly for them, they should have done better at trying to close out this game, because they did have it in the pockets when they're up 7-4.
If we just build on that round, you saw the 2 deagle kills and the 3 near connector, and the follow-on, it went 3 rounds in the favor of Imperial. Just to add context to that, because ENCE play the percentage of Counter-Strike, right? They want to get the AWPs up, they want to get all the utility up, they want to make sure everyone's fully stocked. They did take that CZ round, then they had to take a save round, and then they finally got into the chance later down the track where they could do a proper gun round. That's how you find yourself 3 in the hole, and that's kind of one of these things that happens when we talk about so much pressure on especially if you want to play the clean version of Counter-Strike. Like you don't want to buy 1 AWP or buy 2 M4s and a couple of UMPs. You actually want to make sure everyone has the guns they need. You can get punished in that regard if you don't go on to then win that next gun round. And that's why I think the first half was so close. And if you look at the second half, it's a similar story. Like if you look at Imperial, okay, they win a round, they lose a round. They lose another round, they win a round, they lose a round. Like they were constantly in that economic hell. And that's a rough place to be on a map like Train.
Now we look at the top right. We spoke a lot about Esperanto and what he can do, and still it wasn't enough there for Imperial, but we saw some nice players stepping up here for the ENCE side.
Yeah, I mean, Sergey in particular is a guy we've been talking about a lot as well for this ENCE lineup. I feel it's a guy who all of a sudden he retired for, 2 or 3 months. He didn't want to play anymore, and all of a sudden he comes back now, and he's a vital part of this ENCE lineup. I think he's one of the younger prospects that doesn't get too much attention for some reason, especially in FPL. He was probably one of the best playing players in there, together with Esperanto. So those two also know each other and kind of have been following the same path. Now it's good to see both of them turning up at a LAN environment. That's often what you talk about with young players. Can they replicate their online performances at LAN? And so far, we just have to say that both Sergey and Esperanto are 2 stars for the future.
I just think also, just to note, there were 2 clear players on either team who were struggling. Alexi B doing the in-game leadership role on one side of things, and then you have, I don't want to butcher this guy's name. Jacob, do you know how to say it?
No.
Okay, well.
How?
Yeah, it's just, it's very weirdly, the casters said it both differently, so I don't want to say it incorrectly. But if someone could tweet at me the phonetic pronunciation of his name, that would be fantastic. Pounh. I don't want to butcher anything more than I already say Keish. So, but yeah, these are the 2 stars on either side. And, I made a statement about the ENCE guys looking very young. In further research, someone tweeted at me to say that they actually look younger than they are. I think we have a player that is 21, there's a 24, 25, and 26-year-olds. Sergey is 16, so he definitely looks young.
And finished jeans, man, making them look young.
16 years old and dropping 26 frags on a stage in Ukraine. That's
pretty nice, right? Tell your mum about that one.
Yeah, I will, Chad.
You will? Oh, okay.
Right now.
All right. Well, I didn't mean your mum. I meant maybe like he could tell his mum. Or
no,
maybe
I'm going to tell my mom.
Okay, well.
It's that impressive that everyone's mum needs to know.
He's 16 years old.
My mum's asleep right now, so I won't message her. But, Jacob, if you had to relate this game to a movie, which movie would you pick?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
This is the only game we haven't spoken about a movie.
Yeah, which one would you pick? I feel like your movie catalog is way better than mine.
Probably.
Age comes into it with the movie picks.
I thought you were going to say beauty, but...
I mean, I go outside and spend time in the outside world.
Yeah, my entire life is looking at a screen. Yeah. It's either this little mobile phone, it's either my computer at home, or it's that bloody preview monitor, or it's a screen somewhere else with Counter-Strike on it.
No, let's change that tonight.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do that. I don't think I have any closing thoughts. No, we can't. I don't know. My brain's not working at the moment. I think I don't really have any closing thoughts. I think, it was some cool things to see out of Imperial. Definitely saw some individual plays. Definitely saw some clutch moments. From ENCE, business as usual. They're doing what I expect them to do. When you do play a fundamentally sound version of Counter-Strike, a lot of your games will be close. I don't expect you to get too many blowout victories because you're playing percentages. Sometimes things will go wrong. You're not just relying on people to get 4 kills every round.
I definitely agree. I think ENCE is a team we're going to see in the playoff no matter what happens from this point. They're 2-0 now. They can afford to lose a game. No doubt. They're playing, as you said, fundamentally sound Counter-Strike, so they're going to go through without a doubt. Whereas for Imperial, I do think they've shown the level so far that is decent, so they should be able to go through as well.
Just something to note, they've now dropped down to the 1-1 category with RNG, Optic, Vega Squadron, Tyloo, and themselves, and all of those teams like Mirage.
Okay.
North and NRG is going to be there as well, one of those two teams.
Yeah, and NRG kind of likes Mirage-ish. Ish.
So we're in an interesting state of affairs.
There'll be a lot of Mirage tomorrow, I think, in the 1-1 category.
Ooh, okay, well, we haven't seen massive amounts of it compared to what we normally do. Best of ones coming into it. Guys, this is it for you guys on the desk. Thank you very much for joining me as we will move on to the following games. Next up, you're going to get to see Mouse Sports in action again, and that's going to be an interesting one. They're only going up against CyberZen, so let's see if they can get it done in a more convincing fashion than what we saw yesterday. But we are going to go to a quick break, so don't go anywhere. Stick with us, and we'll be right back.
Loot Bet. With Hellcase multi-cases, you are no longer restricted by random case opening mechanisms. Now, you are able to pick any of the cells containing skins and actually determine what you win. Use the promo code and dive right in.
I'm a soldier, I'm a fighter. Take it all. Watch me crush it like a wrecking ball.